Well, when God come through, ask Allah what he advocates. See, God is the biggest killer of anybody that ever been on the planet. And none of you have ever charged God with being a terrorist, but when he come through Mississippi, see, won't he terrorize the population? Have you ever seen those tornadoes? Looking like dancing girls in long skirts.
Right.
Watch them when they come down and the energy that's in them and what they tear in their path. Have you ever seen a tidal wave? Water 60 feet high moving at many miles an hour, coming over the land, tearing up everything. That's terror.
Go ahead.
Have you ever seen hailstones? Not the size of golf balls, but blocks of ice coming out of the sky. Have you ever been troubled by ants and boll weevils and locusts and killer bees? See, when God get after your raggedy backside, he'll terrorize you with gnats to show you how little of nothing you are with your big guns. He'll put a gnat inside your ear and drive your silly self crazy. This is God. Mississippi needs to be acquainted with a killer God. You've been talking about this loving, peaceful, forgiving God. I want to acquaint you with a God that come to kill. That's right. You said it right. Allahu Akbar. And everybody gonna be saying that in a few days. God is great. See, the only way you gonna submit and do what's right, God is gonna have to kill you. You really don't believe that there's a God that answers, that there's a God that takes account. 48? Hell no. It's a countless number of souls that have been drowned in the swamps and rivers and lakes. It's a countless number that have died in Mississippi at the hands of vicious murderers who never thought that God would bring them to a day of reckoning. I'm almost finished. I'm gonna get out of Mississippi if it's the will of Allah. I'm not gonna hang around. And I tell you, you're going home and just watch. I would love to make Mississippi an example.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See?
Yes, sir. We in a card, Brother Minister.
Even if you're not, it don't make no difference. I'm glad you are in accord, but it don't make any difference if you're not. I'm in accord with God, and he's in accord with me. And my will and his will is one will. And you'll see.
Yes, that's right.
Playing, think that this is some joke. You think that Farrakhan is just a big mouth running around America talking, huh? You think that Elijah Muhammad was some plaything for you, huh? That you can spit on him and talk about him like a dog and play with him. You didn't think that there was a day that you got to come to a reckoning? You had it now.
Yes, sir. That's right.
You had it.
Yes, sir.
Mississippi. He was asleep in the boat. And the winds came up. As they're going to blow in Mississippi in a few hours. I'm asking God, in the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to bring his wrath down on Mississippi. I'm asking God, I want you to know that my words are not going to be empty. As fast as I speak them, God is going to answer. Death and destruction is coming to Mississippi. I want all of you to know that Farrakhan is not in America to talk no crap. Farrakhan is not no blowhard. I am backed by God and I'm from God, and death is going to visit Mississippi. You will learn to leave black people alone all over America. But why not start in Mississippi?
To live coverage. The same is not true of flooding, unless you're talking about the historic events of 1993.
I'm Jeff Morrow along the banks of the Mississippi River, where they're having the worst flooding since 1973. Stay with the Weather Channel for continuous updates.
For the last couple of weeks, we've continued to talk about rain, heavy rain, and flooding from the Missouri into the Mississippi River Valley. That crest, that flood crest, continues to work its way south this evening. We have the Weather Channel's Jeff Morrow standing by live there.
Earlier today, we were 20 miles up the river in Grafton, Illinois, and there flooding is already a major problem. This is the last thing the 1,000 residents of Grafton, Illinois wanted to see today. More heavy rain helping to swell the mighty Mississippi River. Streets and houses around the area have already become submerged. Where we're riding right now is normally over about the bank of the Mississippi River. The water a lot farther inland into the town of Grafton. The worst flooding here since 1973.
23, walking aboard.
It came to me, and I told Brother Khaled, I said, Khaled, it's Libya. I have to go to Libya and warn Brother Gaddafi of what America is about to do. Khaled said to me, he said, Brother Minister, I have never done anything really worthwhile. He said, would you let me go to Libya, and if they're going to arrest me, let them arrest me and not you? I said, Brother Khaled, I am well known. And if they arrest me for going to Libya, it will put the spotlight on Libya and Gaddafi. I want you to go back to the United States and tell the people, hands off Farrakhan. We went to Burkina Faso, and from Burkina Faso we went to Benin, and from Benin I sent my wife, my family back. But when it come time to walking with your brother, you want position with your enemy. And being my friend won't allow you to get a piece of chicken and a buttered biscuit at the back door of your slave master. That night, when we landed, I think the whole government came in my room.
That's right.
Except Brother Gaddafi.
That's right.
And I told them my experience. And I said, they're going to bomb Libya.
That's right.
The next day, 86 nations of the non-aligned movement were meeting in Tripoli. Brother Gaddafi sends a message. He wants me to speak ahead of him. So I stand in front of 86 nations and I tell them what I got from Elijah Muhammad on the wheel. And let me tell you, I warned President Reagan and I warned Secretary of State Schultz, leave Brother Gaddafi alone. The next day, an American jet from the carrier Nimitz flew over and got shot down. And there I am in Libya. I just know it's on. But I'm wondering why there's no more planes coming. And it gave us a chance to get out just in time. And we went from Libya to Saudi Arabia. And while I am in Arabia, they have an English language newspaper called Arab News. We pick up the Arab News on the front page. It says a bright, shiny object was over the Mediterranean. See, the aircraft carrier Nimitz is so technologically profound, but the wheel messed up its stuff. And it had to come back to Florida to be fixed, and another plane, aircraft carrier like that had to take its place in the Gulf of Suez. Now I'm in Saudi Arabia, I pick up the paper. They bombed Benghazi, they bombed Tripoli. I told them that they were going to bomb his communication center, and that's where he was living. And he moved out of the room that he was in a fraction of a second before a guided missile blew up his house, killed his baby daughter, but he was spared. Now I'm in Saudi Arabia when this happened.
Combat squadron at Upper Hayford. Because both France and Spain refused to allow the aircraft to overfly their airspace, the flight path had to be routed over the sea. Meanwhile, the carrier groups also maneuvered into position for their own attacks. The F-111s used in the strike were all armed with the PAVE-TAC weapon system. This is a streamlined pod which rotates out from the aircraft's belly when in use. It contains sophisticated terrain-following radar, as well as infrared and laser target designators, which guide modern smart bombs accurately onto target. The bombs dropped on this mission were 2,000-pound Mark 84 paveway laser-guided weapons and 500-pound Mark 82 Snake Eyes. In-flight refueling was accomplished in 4 stages on the outward journey and 2 on the return by KC-10 and KC-135 tankers from Fairford, Mildenhall, and NATO bases in Italy. In Frogman HQ at Sidi Bilal, Gaddafi's command post headquarters in the Azizia barracks, and military transports at Tripoli airport. The Navy was tasked with striking an alternative command post at the Jamahiriya barracks in Benghazi and the air defense base at Benina. F-111s approached their targets. The paved tack pods were swung out in the terrain following mode, and the laser designators switched on to warm up. These sample infrared line scan images show first the approach to the coast. Next is the low-level bombing run on the Azizia barracks. Gaddafi's circular white tent and even the tent poles are clearly visible. Members of his family were reportedly killed and wounded here. Finally, the F-111s approached Tripoli Military Airport. Here, 5 Ilyushin 76 transports on the ground are severely damaged by snake-eye retarded bombs. In the Libyan capital, the attack erupted. Libya possessed SA-3 and SA-5 surface-to-air missiles, and certainly fired many of her 23, 30, and 57mm anti-aircraft guns. Since the attack on Tripoli lasted only 11 minutes, and the defenses were not on alert, most of the fire loosed off by the defenders was certainly much too late, the gunners and rocket men actually firing wild. Despite the use of precision bombing methods, some weapons landed off target in a number of city areas. There were civilian casualties, perhaps as many as 300. Hospital wards began to fill up. The exasperated Libyan militias vented their anger. In the Tripoli suburb of Bin Ashur, close to the Libyan National Security Building, the French embassy was hit. The Swiss and Iranian embassies were also slightly damaged. It is probable the damage was also caused by Libyan SAMs, which had missed their targets, falling back to earth. For the attack on Benghazi, the Navy's carriers Coral Sea and America launched 24 A-6 intruders. 6 FA-18 Hornets were also dedicated to the attack. Main strike was provided by the intruders, mostly armed with 750-pound bombs. Harm anti-radiation missiles, which home on the radar emissions of enemy detection, and gun and missile guidance radars were also employed. And these certainly accounted for a complete missile battery south of Benghazi. The strike against Benina probably prevented the Libyans from scrambling their potent Mirage F-1 and MiG-25 Foxbat interceptors before the U.S. aircraft had departed Libyan airspace. In all, both raids actually lasted only 13 minutes. Shortly afterwards, one F-111 was reported downed, and a search and rescue mission was launched from the carriers. Unfortunately, the 2-man crew were lost. Major Fernando Ribas Dominici and Captain Paul Lawrence were subsequently awarded posthumous air medals. The remainder of the strike force returned safely to their bases, although one F-111 had to divert to Rota in Spain because of an overheating problem. The first F-111 touched down back at Lakenheath at 0630 hours the following morning. Mission accomplished. Later reconnaissance by high-flying SR-71 Blackbirds from Mildenhall confirmed the accuracy of the strike, performed at night after a grueling 6-hour flight.
He said it was 1.5 to 2 times larger in size than the largest aircraft carrier. And the largest aircraft carrier is 1/4 mile long. So if it's 2 times that, it's 1/2 mile. Now think about this, 1/2 mile and 1/2 mile. And in it are 1,500 bombing planes.
Clive Symington is now a businessman. He was the Republican governor of Arizona for 6 years, elected when the first George Bush was president. Now, a decade after leaving the State House, he takes me to a Phoenix park and discloses something unlike anything uttered by any other high-level U.S. politician.
If you had been here 10 years ago and standing out here and looking up there at the lights and the view, you would have been astounded. You would have been amazed.
Governor Symington is referring to what is now known as the Phoenix Lights, an object videotaped by many and seen by thousands over several nights in the Arizona sky in 1997.
Major sighting here.
It was described by witnesses as larger than a football field and silent.
It was a giant V, all right? And the right side of the V went over us. The left side was like a couple blocks over it.
We just didn't know what to do. You know, it was just like, my God, how big is this thing?
The great state of Arizona, Clive Symington.
The former governor, a Vietnam Air Force veteran, had never publicly acknowledged seeing it until now.
And I suspect that unless the Defense Department proves us otherwise, that it was probably some form of an alien spacecraft. Brilliant. And it was just fascinating. I mean, it was enormous. It just felt otherworldly. You know, in your gut, you could just tell it was otherworldly.
And that's where you're going. You are God's people. And you can decide whether you want to do righteousness or whether you want to stay in the condition that you're in. But I'm telling you, when I finish this lecture today, God is going to answer what I said. You'll see the wheels over the major cities, and the chastisement is going to increase.
In this hour, we told you about the mysterious lights that keep appearing over Lake Erie near Cleveland. Here is some home video of the lights that neighbors in the area say are unlike aircraft or helicopters that fly there. And last night, for the 8th night in a row, they said these lights were back, appearing around 7:30 p.m. and lasting about 2 hours. NASA has a lab in Cleveland called the Glenn Research Center. They test rockets and various aircraft, but say they haven't done any testing this week. A Pentagon official told me the U.S. military has not been testing anything recently in that area. And the FAA acknowledges the light pattern seems different from commercial flight paths in the area. So what on earth is going on? Joining us is UFO expert Nick Pope from our London bureau. Nick ran the British government's UFO project at the Ministry of Defense. Nick, first of all, what do you make of what we're all hearing from Cleveland? 8 days, the lights seem to be similar, but they look unlike anything that people have ever seen.
Yes, it certainly seems to be an interesting wave of sightings, and it's always fascinating when you get activity like this over a period of different nights.
You can't have a man like Moses unless you have a king like Pharaoh, and unless you have a people like the children of Israel. Moses had a man with him who was his brother Aaron. Aaron was a man that spoke eloquently. Moses had a stammering tongue. Elijah Muhammad is that Moses. And I am his Aaron. Whether you believe it or not, both of us have authority to deal with Pharaoh, the modern government of America. That's why I speak with authority, because I have authority. And what comes out of my mouth, God will answer it. The Quran says, O messenger, deliver that which has been revealed to thee from thy Lord. And if you do it not, you have not delivered his message, and Allah will protect you from men. Surely Allah guides not the disbelieving people. It doesn't give me joy to warn you of things to come. It doesn't give me joy to tell you that the judgment of God has now entered America. A warner never warns hoping that the enemy will not heed the warning so that the punishment of God could afflict them. Messengers of God and warners from God always warn with hope that the people will hear, think, look at the signs, and make a determination to take the practical steps that will avoid the destruction that God had purposed. To the members of the press, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said 4 great judgments will be used to bring America down. These are judgments not by the hands of man. They are by the hand of him that we all believe is the creator of the heavens and the earth. And those 4 judgments are rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes. Open your eyes and look at the increasing rain, hail, snow. There are several hundred earthquakes that have already come to America. Little small ones. I'm not talking about a little small one. God, when he sends a warner, the Quran says he seizes the people with distress and affliction that they might humble themselves. With Moses, he prayed that God would destroy the wealth of Pharaoh.
Perry Small, WVON. I was just, in your last remarks, you were talking about possible charges of sedition and treason. Have you heard anybody, or have you been contacted by any reliable sources that said that this might happen?
No.
What makes you make that statement?
Looking at the book.
Okay.
What book? Do you realize we're fulfilling prophecy right now? You don't have no black man in America that has an argument with the Jews but Farrakhan. Well, who in the Bible had the biggest argument with the Jews of that day? Was it not Jesus? I'm walking in the master's shoes. Take it or let it alone. Next question.
Sure.
Excuse me, yes, sir.
Yes, I'm Phil Rogers from Channel 5.
Yes, sir.
I wonder if you'd clarify the link you see between what is going on with Muammar Gaddafi and the possibility of a major earthquake in the United States.
Oh, yes. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there were 4 great judgments. And the last of those judgments was earthquakes. And he told me that there would be one coming that would be so great. Not just one city would come down, many. Search the scriptures. When they hung Jesus out to dry, and on the day he gave up the ghost, what happened? A great earthquake. See, you're dealing with a man, I'm sorry, I'm not an insane, delusionist person. You're dealing with a man that you're going to have to deal with. And you can't deal with me the way you deal with your customary Negroes. You can't kill me like you did Malcolm and Martin and others. God won't allow that to happen. And the moment you move on me, God is going to move on you. And I'm talking about terrible disaster. Now, if you think I'm crazy, just breathe a little more. And when it happens, remember, you heard it first.
Witnesses say it was bedlam.
It's a tornado.
And even though Lambert Field was under a tornado watch, no one expected a powerful twister to barrel down a runway and slam into the historic airport. Enormous windows shattered, sending glass flying into Lambert's main terminal. This surveillance video shows the time of impact, with travelers and airport employees diving for cover to avoid flying debris.
I mean, we got to the terminal, lights were out, there was glass everywhere, it was just open, there was blood everywhere from where people had been cut.
This is the jet that was pushed sideways from gate 12.
3 planes filled with passengers rode out the scary storm on the tarmac. East of the airport, dozens of homes bore the brunt of a twister packing winds of up to 166 miles an hour.
We just thank the Lord that we were okay and all our neighbors are okay.
In Maryland Heights, residents scavenged through what was left of their homes, searching for anything that wasn't blown away.
It was a mess, scary. I don't want to live through it again. And as you can see, we're picking up the pieces.
The small city of Berkeley, just a few miles east of the airport, was also hard hit.
From Texas to Virginia, just unbelievable, as you've seen in these pictures here the last few moments. At least 173 people are reportedly killed in 5 states now. No one knows how many tornadoes there were. Some neighborhoods were just completely destroyed. Alabama, hardest hit by far, reporting at least 128 deaths as of now. A team of reporters in Alabama for us this morning. Let's begin with CBS News correspondent Mark Strassman in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Very hard-hit area there. Mark, good morning. What is the latest?
Good morning, Chris. The latest you see behind me. This is the edge of the destruction here in Tuscaloosa, and now that it is first light, a search and rescue sweep in earnest will begin block by block, house by house. And so many people here say the same thing. They looked at the sky yesterday, and this is what they saw. This black, massive mass coming at them, ominous, twisting, a mile wide. It was a killer tornado just bearing down on Tuscaloosa and so many other communities as well. The twister was part of a savage storm system that moved across the South. From Mississippi to Georgia, from Texas to Virginia, people scrambled for whatever cover they could, even inside a bathtub. Today, people in so many communities have their own horror stories. Here in Tuscaloosa, the home of the University of Alabama, the twister ripped through neighborhoods, flipped cars, flattened homes and businesses, and killed at least 15 people. So this is a community in grief, along with a community in ruins.
Joining us now from Montgomery, the state capital, is Alabama Governor Robert Bentley. Governor, good morning to you.
Good morning, Chris.
Thank you so much for taking a few moments for us. We know this has been a devastating morning for you, but you've been in contact with people across your state. Just how bad is it there right now?
Well, I think this is the worst natural disaster in many, many years in Alabama. Right now we have 128 confirmed dead. We have had long-track tornadoes that have gone all across the state, and we've had massive devastation all over the northern part of the state.
As far as your top priorities right now, what exactly are they for the hardest hit parts of Alabama?
Well, of course, the most important is to search and rescue and find the people that are still hurt. There's some out there at the present time that we have not found, and so that's the most important thing that we're doing right now. And then, of course, we have people out there trying to restore power. We have all of our first responders across the state. Last night, I activated 2,000 National Guardsmen. Most of those are in the field at the present time. And we will activate more than that if we need it to do the search and rescue.
Governor, I know you spoke with President Obama last night. He declared a state of emergency for the state of Alabama. Are you confident that you are going to get the immediate aid necessary to help the people of your great state?
I am. I spoke with the president last night, and he assured me that, that help would be coming this morning. In fact, probably some last night, but he assured me that the federal government would help, but we have some tremendous first responders in the state, and they're doing an outstanding job, and I'm very proud of all of those people that are out today. And last night they were out. All of our first responders are doing a very good job.
Well, Governor, we again thank you for taking a few moments for us this morning. We know you are extremely busy, and our thoughts go out to you and the people of Alabama.
Thank you very much.
Governor Robert Bentley, thank you.
But when that great earthquake comes, it won't make any difference what you have in your pantry. It's very sad. And I hoped and prayed that I would not have to see that. But it is coming. And I pray that America will recognize that black folk are nothing for you to play with. You may think you can kill us, but you will only be ending up destroying yourself. So I thank all of you for listening. And I'm sure this will get to the government. That's who I really wanted it to get to. And they may do with it and with me whatever they choose. But God is the one in whom I put my trust. And I would advise you to do the same. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.